Hi, this is Pat Grady from Embellishing Bliss, and I am so excited that you are going to be part of the 6 weeks online course called Navigate the Journey. I have been anticipating this for over a year to be able to actually teach online, and I'm so excited that you are part of my very first online course. So throughout the course, I would love any feedback or recommendations or suggestions that you have that are going to make it easier for you to learn on this environment. But I think you'll find it interesting to know we have several people from Minnesota, which is where I'm from, but then we have someone from New Jersey and also someone from France. So this is truly a worldwide class. I'm so excited. You're probably wondering, why anticipation? Why did she send us that video today with Carly Simon singing Anticipation? I told you I'd give you the little backstory on that. So Carly Simon back in 1970 wrote that song when she was the opening act for Cat Stevens when he was playing in Boston and New York. And Carly had invited Cat over to her apartment, and she was anxious, she was nervous, she was giddy, and so in order to fill the time before he came, she wrote the song Anticipation, which I thought was a pretty cool story. So you can kind of have that in your back pocket for your trivia game or something like that. But when I was thinking about anticipation, I decided to look up the definition of anticipation. And it is the act of looking forward, especially pleasurable expectation. So I'm anticipating that this is going to be an amazing course and that I'm going to learn as much from it as you do. The second definition is visualization of a future event or state. And to me, that means us visualizing where we're going to be 6 weeks, 6 months, a year from now, and how this journey that we've had with our visual journal has helped us to move us along on our life journey of where we're going. And the third one is a mental attitude that influences a later response. And with that, I think about our attitude about life. I tend to have a positive attitude about most things. Sometimes things don't go exactly as we plan, and you could get a little bummed about that, but I think about it and realize that if things went perfectly, you would never take some of the detours that we take on an ongoing basis. You know, you would just be sailing along smooth sailing. But when you have to dig in when things don't go right, that's how you can really find some enjoyment and find how things are really going to work. So when I was putting together this course, I decided that it was important for us not only to be physically ready, but mentally and emotionally ready to anticipate this journey. So I came up with what I call guidelines. I once took a course from someone where he put up this big sheet of paper and it said the rules. And somehow rules felt like a little strong word to me, so I'm using guidelines. And so I sat down to write the guidelines last year when I was teaching this course for the first time, and I'm like, I have no idea how many guidelines I need or what they should say and how I'm going to remember them. So I decided to use the word journey. And in the email that I sent you, you will find a document, and the document is going to cover pretty much everything that I'm telling you in this video. And the last page of that document, you're going to find something that looks like this. And it says Navigate the Journey Guidelines, and the word journey goes down this side column. And each one of the guidelines starts with a letter. So the first one, the J in journey, is judgment is not allowed. And what I mean by that is I'm not here to judge you that your book is good or bad, and nobody else in the class is going to judge you. But probably the most important piece is you're not to judge yourself. I don't want you to look at it and say, oh, this isn't any good. Judgment is just not allowed. Whatever you do, it is what it is. And so that's one of the foremost things we need to think about. The O is being open to possibilities. If we're not open to new and exciting things, they're not going to happen. So that's what the O is about. You understand it's not always easy, that there are going to be times that are going to be tough. And I'm not going to tell you that if you keep a visual journal and you work in it every day, that life is going to be perfect for you. It's not, but it's going to help you through those times that are not as easy. The R is relax and roam. Feel free to move, to kind of move your shoulders around, take a deep breath, dance, not have to sit in your perfect student posture, but be able to be comfortable and relaxed in what you're doing. The N in journey is negative energy is left outside. Don't even bring it in. We're only about being positive, because, negative energy can really bring you down. The E is explore. Have fun with this. This is not about creating art. It is about having fun, exploring, putting down in your journal thoughts that you didn't even know you had. The Y is you are in charge of your destiny. I cannot do it for you. The other people in the class can't do it for you. It is up to you. We'll be here to support you, but it's your job to help yourself along this journey. And so when I was writing my rules, that's the end of the word journey. And then I'm like, well, but what about feeling safe and secure in this space that we're having in this classroom? So I changed the word from journey to journeys so that we could have a safe space, that we know what we're sharing in this class stays within this class. So I wanted you to feel that it is a comfortable space. The other the other four things that we're going to talk about real quickly are, first of all, your intention of why you took the class, how you're possibly going to fit this into your busy schedule, where are you going to work on your visual journal, and what do you need when you're working in it. So the first one is your intention. And I go more in depth in your handout, but basically there are some thought starters for you. The first one is, we need to figure out our intention so that we can hone in on what it is we want to focus on. If you have such a big goal like world peace, it's a little overwhelming. You need to kind of bring it down to a smaller, more manageable intention. So one of the things to do is to ask yourself, why did I sign up for this class? Is there something that I want more of or less of in my life? At the end of the 6 weeks, what do I hope to have gained? So those are some of the questions that you can start asking yourself so that you can put your intention down on paper. An example of an intention might be, when I did this course a little over a year ago, my intention was, I intend to discover revenue streams for my creative work. And the idea behind that is that I wanted to be able to do what I love, but make a living doing it. So there's more details in the handout about that. The next one is, how do we develop a habit? How do we figure out a way that we can do this on a daily basis, or at least maybe 5 times a week? And the way that you do that, some people say it takes 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks to develop a habit. But the one way to develop a habit is to figure out, what is it that you already do? Maybe it's your very first cup of coffee or tea or water in the morning, and you're going to pair working in your journal with that. Or maybe you're a night owl, and after everybody else goes to bed is your time to wake up and really feel good about working in your journal. You need to find something that you want to pair it with. And then the third one is, where are you going to do this? Do you have a great studio like I do that you can come down to and be encouraged and feel good about getting your paint out and smearing it around? Or are you going to work on the kitchen table or the dining room table? Or are you going to create a new space for this? Whatever it is, you need to feel comfortable with it so that you'll want to do it. For example, you don't want to pick, the dining room table and it's something that's filled with the mail and everything else, and that you're going to have to spend 10 minutes clearing it off every day. You're going to want to find a place that is going to be accessible to you and that you feel good about. And so those are the first 3 things: your intention, where you're going to do it, and when you're going to do it. Now, the last one are what I call the tools of the trade. And I'm not going to go into real in-depth into all of the things that we're going to be using in this course, but I want to give you the one thing that you're going to need for next week is your sketchbook. And so the most critical piece of the sketchbook is it needs to have blank pages. We don't want it to have lines on it. There are several options for you. This book is about 5 by 8, and this would be the smallest size book that I would recommend. The book that I actually use is closer to 8.5 by 11 size, or 8 by 10. I happen to like this perfect bound book because I tend to put lots of stuff in my journal and it gets really, really full, and I think it holds in better. Other people like a wire bound book. They like that it lays flatter. They can fold it back and work on it that way. It's all a personal preference. Whatever tends to work best for you and what you're most comfortable with is fine. This doesn't have to be a real expensive book. Typically I get mine at Michael's, and I think the bigger book is usually $10, and I usually use a coupon to get it for $5 or $6. So I think the other piece is the paper doesn't have to be real heavy like it would be for watercolor or something. I mean, it's a little bit heavier stock, not a real thin paper, but it works well, and I think it should have a hard cover. Is more durable, and that works well. This hardcover on this book, I'll show you one of the other books that I did previously. You can paint on it. We can add paper to it. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. This book looked exactly like that other one when it started. And in future weeks, we'll get into how I did some of these things. So, but that's not most important today. So for next week, the only thing you need is your sketchbook. But while you're at the store, if you do want to get a few other things, I use markers in my book, and I've found that just these real cheapy Crayola super tips work really well for writing over paint. They can be gotten at Target or Walmart or any of the basic kinds of office supply stores. The paint that I use is nothing fancy. If you have some paints, art paints or whatever that you want to use, that's okay. But I actually use just these little 2-ounce squeeze bottles that you can get again at craft stores. They cost $1 or less per bottle. You probably want 10 or 12 colors that you like. You're going to want to get a couple that are light colors because you're going to want to write over them, and so putting white over top of a darker color makes it easier to write on. A gift card that you might have left over from Christmas after you redeem it, or an old credit card, is what we're going to use to apply the paint, because we use those little squirt bottles and squirt directly onto the pages and then use a credit card to smooth it out. A glue stick, basic glue stick, paper scissors. You may want stamps, you know, alphabet stamps, but not necessary, completely optional. Wipes are great. If you get a little bit too much paint on the page, you can kind of blend the colors together or wipe up any excess. And then there are a few things that you're going to want to start collecting. Not that you need all of these next week, but just to kind of keep your eye open for different things. You may have some papers that are left over from gift wrapping at Christmas, just parts and pieces you may want to use in your book. This is kind of a fun specialized paper. You might have some from scrapbooking or whatever. I have some pattern tissue, some stickers, parts of maps, anything that you think is interesting that draws your attention. You might want to just start collecting and putting in a box so that you have them. The other thing is start looking through magazines and coming up with things that you like. For example, this was an article that says, the minute you settle for less than you deserve, you get even less than you settle for. So that you might find articles or even headlines or words I clipped something out here that said dealing with oppositions. So, or like parts of maps. Anything that as you're flipping through a magazine makes you stop as you're turning the pages might be something that you want to tear out. Maybe it's the color. It's a pretty picture of a flower. One thing that I love to do this time of year is to get calendars that are from last year. I tend to have very fun, bright colored calendars. 2012's over, but I love the pictures that were on the calendars, and you may want to use them or use, you know, parts of the calendar itself in your journal. So start collecting those sorts of things. I think it's kind of a scavenger hunt. You may want postcards or recipe cards, photographs of yourself or others. Just start collecting things, and there's, you know, it's not like you have to have them all by next week. We'll talk about those more in further weeks, but I wanted you to at least be thinking about it. And then the last thing I want to talk about is our conference call. We will have a conference call on Friday, this Friday, from noon to 1. In the handout that I have put here, and I'll probably send a reminder email, there is a conference call number that you will call into. The call will last from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock Central Time, and it will be a chance for you to ask any questions, suggestions. We can talk about how it went, what we're thinking so far, and kind of have a chance to bond and have everybody introduce each other. And then if you can't make it, let me know. And if you have questions, I will answer those questions during the conference call. And if you can't, and everybody will get a recording of the conference call afterwards. I will email that to you. So even if you can't be there live, you'll be able to listen to it later. So this is the first week of Navigate the Journey. I am so excited about this. And I look forward to the next 6 weeks with you. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Have a great day.